All right, Jabosai, good morning. Let us begin. We hope to, Meretz Hashem, finish Osnon. Well, continue in Osnon Beis today in HaTzaddik. So we are picking up on page Kuf Chaf Hey. Let's pick up in the Bi'urei HaChasidus on the left-hand side. So remember again, we actually began this discussion. So just to refocus us a little bit, so HaTzaddik in Osnon Beis is focusing on the ability of transformative change, or the concept of transformative change. And really focusing, again, the anchor of this discussion is the Messianic era, and the idea being that the Rebbe highlighted this concept of Be'ita Achishena, that Geula really comes in one of two ways. Be'ita, in its just simple appointed time, or Achishena, expedited salvation, or expedited salvation. So the idea of Be'ita means that at a certain point in time, even if Klal Yisrael, it appears, even if Klal Yisrael is undeserving, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will somehow bring Mashiach anyway. But then what HaTzaddik was really highlighting was, it's not really the way that it works. In other words, that Be'ita means even if Klal Yisrael is undeserving right now, there'll be some type of transformative change which will make Klal Yisrael deserving. So interestingly enough, so HaTzaddik was then focusing on this idea of how do we see that level of change? The ability to take a generation that's undeserving and suddenly go ahead and make it deserving, which is a pretty dramatic idea. So HaTzaddik says we see examples of this by the Dar HaMidbar. Right? He gives other examples of where you find instantaneous transformative change. So let's pick up page Kuf Chaf Hey, left hand column Bi'urei HaChasidus, same PDF from last week. So the Rebbe says, and this is incredible, we mentioned this we actually began this last week. The Rebbe says, lest you think that this concept of transformative change is impossible, remember I will say again the example that he brought from the Gemara Maseches Kiddushin, HaMekadesh HaSa'isha Almanas Shani Tzaddik Gomer. Right? If a man says to a woman, become Mikudeshes to me on the condition that I'm a Tzaddik Gomer, I'm absolutely righteous, the Gemara says, Mikudeshes, she is betrothed to him, even if he is Mamish Rasha. Even if he's Mamish Rasha. Why? Shema hear her tshuva belibo. Because ultimately, maybe he did tshuva. Maybe he did tshuva. And the Tzaddik says, you see from it, now what do you mean maybe he did tshuva? The idea being, even though externally the person did not change anything about his behaviors, and even though again a person maybe did not change anything about his lifestyle, but there's a hirur tshuva, a thought of tshuva, some type of cognitive process or a cognitive shift. So the Rebbe says that also constitutes tshuva. So you see from here that transformative, instantaneous change can take place, because often the greatest tshuva is not even something that occurs behaviorally, but the greatest tshuva is the type of tshuva which occurs with a mindset shift, or a shift of, or a reorientation of the way one thinks about themselves, the way one thinks about life. So the Rebbe goes on and says, this is a truly beautiful piece. He says, V'hari anu b'nei Yisrael, Shal kol hadoros, mevakshim me'Hashem yisbarach, hashivenu Hashem elecha v'nashuva, hashivenu Hashem elecha v'nashuva, v'gomer. So he goes here for the pasuk in Eicha, and the pasuk in Eicha says, hashivenu Hashem elecha v'nashuva, Hashem, bring us back to you, and we will return. Bring us back to you, and we will return. So I say, we know the deeper meaning of this pasuk. The Rebbe says, v'hu yachol la'orerenu l'shuv b'tshuva shlema b'rega echad. What Klal Yisrael says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, Ribono Shel Olam, we have so much difficulty doing tshuva, so much difficulty coming back to you. But you could bring us back. You could awaken us to tshuva in a moment, right? It's a very strange pasuk. Hashivinu Hashem elecha v'nashuva. Hashem, you bring us back and we'll return. What does that mean? What does that mean? What we're to a certain degree doing is we're shifting the responsibility of our tshuva to the Ribono Shel Olam. Kadosh Baruch Hu, you know you could inspire us, you know you could awaken us, you know you could bring us back to you, and if you would bring us back to you, we would do everything we're supposed to be doing. So why don't you just go ahead and do that? It's an incredible chutzpah, but it's incredibly profound. V'hu yachol lorein l'shuv b'tshuva v'shlema b'rega echad, rak sh'Hashem yisbarach tzavach, page Kuf Chaf Vav, al b'nei Yisrael. But yet the Ribono Shel Olam, he screams back, so to speak, right? He calls back and he says, according to the pasuk in Zechariah, Shuva elai nu'um Hashem tzavakos va'ashuv aleichem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says back to us, Shuvu elai, you come back to me. You come back to me. So there is this not tug of war is the wrong word, but there is this tension between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael says to Rebbeinu Shalom, Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha v'nashuva. God, it's your responsibility to make us do tshuva. Bring us back to you, and you'll see that if you awaken within us the spark of tshuva, we'll do great things. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us, Shuva Elai. What do you mean I should bring you back to me? You come back to me. You have Bechira. You have free choice. You make the decision to return to me. So look what the Rebbe says. Umistama. So we'll say. So this, of course, if you take a look at footnote Kovav, this is very beautiful. It goes over here the Medrash. The Medrash says, Amra Knesset Yisrael Fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ribbono Shel Olam Shalchahu Hashivenu. So the Kohen Medrash says, Klal Yisrael says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribbono Shel Olam, we belong to you. We belong to you. So because we belong to you, Hashivenu, bring us back. Bring us back. Amar Lahem Shalachemu. Shene'emar Shuva Elaynu U'Mashem Tzvakos Va'ashuv Aleichem. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, you belong to you. Let's say, you hear this? We say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we belong to you, right? Or the power of our tshuva belongs to you. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds to us and he says, no, the power of your tshuva belongs to you. Amra l'fanav Ribbono Shalom Shalchahu shene'emar Shuvenu Elokei Yishenu l'kach ne'emar Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha v'nashuva. So this is just the tension between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael. So it says that I have something so fascinating. Umistama, Kishiyagia Zman HaGeula, Bedar Garua Mod, Ad Shiyihya Kulo Chayiv Kidalel. So let's say, remember again, going back to this messianic tug of war. Be'ita Achishana. So Achishana, expedited salvation occurs if the generation deserves it. Be'ita sounds like even if it's a generation Shekulo Chayiv, that is so fundamentally compromised, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Vari halochihi she'ein Yisrael nig'alin ela im osin tshuva kidalel. So I will say, see, here's the problem. This HaTzaddik mentioned in passing before, but now it comes to full light. With messianic salvation, so I understand achishana. I understand expedited salvation if we are worthy of it. I understand that piece. Be'ita sounds like that even if Klal Yisrael doesn't deserve it, there's a certain, what's the right word? There's a certain time by which Mashiach has to come no matter what. There's like what's the right word? I'm sorry? A deadline, right? There's a messianic deadline, right? There's no, meaning Mashiach must come by a certain time, which makes it sound like even if Klal Yisrael is not deserving, Mashiach will come. The problem with that, and this is what HaTzaddik is driving at, is we have other statements in Chazal of Ein Yisrael Nigalin Ele Mosin Tshuva, which says Klal Yisrael can't be redeemed without tshuva. So how does this all work? How could I have a deadline? In other words, both say a deadline makes it sound like Mashiach coming no matter what the state of Klal Yisrael is. But yet Chazal tell us that Klal Yisrael can only be redeemed if we do tshuva. So what? So how do you reconcile this? We'll say, now watch this. This is incredible. So HaTzaddik says it has to be al karchach sheyihya az matzav shel didan natzach. The only way to reconcile these concepts is if you say, we win. We win. What does this mean? Shalanu natzach kilomar shekneses Yisrael tinatzeach kiviyachol as HaKadosh Baruch Hu bevakashasa hashivenu elecha sheyihya gam haisarusa l'tshuva meHashem yisparach. So we'll say this is actually quite beautiful. So HaTzaddik says the only way to reconcile it is as follows: that halacha l'maisa is going to end up happening is we win. We win meaning what? That when that deadline occurs, when that deadline comes about, and mamish now, it is time to go ahead and bring Mashiach. The problem is, Klal Yisrael has not done tshuva, so we'll say what's going to happen? Klal Yisrael will win, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately again will be forced to Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha v'nashuva. Now what's going to end up happening? The Rebbe Shalom is going to have to bring Mashiach. Klal Yisrael will not have done tshuva, and the only way to ultimately bring Mashiach is for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to inspire us to do tshuva. He's going to have to take ownership over our tshuva. Hashivenu Hashem Eilecha. Rebbe Shalom, light the fire, kindle the spark, bring us back to you, and you will see that we will do something absolutely incredible. So we'll say, isn't this amazing? So HaTzaddik says, so we'll say there's a number of things happening over here. And by the way, I just want to point out, all HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is light the spark. We do the rest. But Lamaisa, I need the Ribono Shel Olam at times to take the responsibility to bring me back. So this highlights a number of different things. Number one, once it gives us a fascinating window into Messianic redemption. Halavai will be zocha ta'achishena, to expedited salvation through positive dynamic activity. If not, if it's going to be be'ita salvation, so then Rabbi said one of two things happens. Either Klal Yisrael will do tshuva, or if we don't, Didan Natzach. Remember that phrase from the Rebbe. Didan Natzach, we win. There's always this ongoing tug of war. We say, Hashivenu Hashem Elecha v'nashuva. Hashem, bring us back. Hashem says, Shuva Elai. Come back yourself. So normally, Yisri Ban Shalom who wins, except when the deadline of Messianic redemption approaches, and Mashiach has to come, and we're still not doing tshuva, we win. Hashivenu Hashem Elecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have to go ahead and light the fire and kindle the spark. But the greater lesson that Reb Tzaddik is teaching us in the midst of all this is the ability and the power of transformative change. And sometimes that ability to even engage in instantaneous transformative change. That sometimes, again, there is the ability for a person to so fundamentally turn himself around. And yes, although sometimes it's gradual, and most times it's good for it to be gradual, at the end of the day, instantaneous, transformative, cathartic change is possible as well. That's the Gemara Maseches Kiddushin. That's ultimately, again, Hari Akne Kudesh Amanashi Tzaddik Gomer. And why is instantaneous, transformative, cathartic change possible? That goes back, Kishoshana Ben HaChochim. Because at the end of the day, even when I commit Averos, the Rebbe says, that's not my Panemius. My Panemius is Kaddish. My Panemius, my inner essence is Tahar, and remains untainted forever. No matter what happens in the rest of my life, I am the Kishoshana Ben HaChochim. I am the rose amongst the weeds. It's true the weeds are there, but Lamaisa, the rose never loses its rose identity. So because I never lose my Panemius, because I never lose that, therefore again, even when I sin, I don't fundamentally alter who I am on the inside, and because of that, instantaneous, transformative, cathartic change always remains possible. All right, so we'll stop over here. We'll pick up Emirat Hashem with Nun Gimel tomorrow. Shkoyach.